President and CEO of Behringer Associates. My contact information is on the screen, and I would welcome you to reach out to me with any questions you might have or think of after this webinar following our question and answer session. I'll also present my contact information again at the end of the webinar. So is it time? So, the topic of this webinar is really, is it time to replace your phone system? And there's been a lot of advances in phone systems over the last 5 to 10 years. We're no longer dealing with Alexander Graham Bell technology. It's changed dramatically. And probably one of the most important aspects of any business, regardless of what business you're in, is communicating with your clients and prospects. It's key to your success. So the first question you have to ask yourself is, are you at risk? Is your current phone system opening you up to any sort of security vulnerabilities by having an obsolete operating system? Are you dealing with old legacy obsolete hardware? The traditional phone system was very proprietary and would be a box that would bolt on the wall, and that box would basically control all your phones, connect to your phone lines, and so forth. However, if that equipment is old and no longer available to be serviced, no parts available, no replacement system available should it die, obviously that leaves you with an extreme vulnerability, because if the system dies in the middle of the day and you call your telephone vendor and they say, oh, that system hasn't been manufactured in 6 years and there's no power supply for it, or there's no motherboard for it, or there's no daughter card for it, then you're finding yourself with one of your most critical systems not running and not quickly replaceable. The other risk would be hardware that's unsupported by a manufacturer. So many times with these legacy phone systems, the manufacturer will come out with a new model and they'll discontinue the old model and they won't support it any longer. So again, you don't have a lifeline. You don't have anybody to call. So these are all inherent risks with older legacy hardware. The other thing you should ask yourself is, how old is my current system? Systems are very reliable, they last a long time, but the technology is changing rapidly. So if your system is greater than 5 years old, it's time to take a look at new technology and see if you can possibly lower your costs at the same time acquiring new features. And then the other thing would be, do you have a mobile or distributed workforce? So if you have multiple offices, no sense having a different telephone system at each office. With today's technologies, we can connect all those systems together using one phone system. And you can appear as one seamless organization, even though you might have multiple offices or might be spread out with a distributed workforce, maybe people that work from at home or even from the road with cell phones. And we'll cover those topics during this call today. So the evolution of business communications. So, basically I'm not sure, I'm old enough to remember this. I'm not sure if everyone on the call is, but, back in the day, businesses had switchboards. And basically what switchboards did was you have a bunch of telephone lines coming into a business, and you'd have a bunch of telephones on desk, and usually you'd have more telephones than telephone lines. And what a switchboard operator would do is they would answer the call, and then they would connect or physically plug that incoming phone line into a telephone jack so that someone could physically talk to you. Later, the advent of the PBX, which stands for Public Branch Exchange, was the first telephone system. And basically what the telephone system did was it basically replaced the switchboard. It connected outside telephone lines to telephones on people's desktops so that you could share maybe 8 phone lines for 16 employees. And you know, calls could come into the PBX, and the PBX or the switchboard operator could route those calls to the appropriate people. Today what we have is the ability to eliminate the proprietary phone system, the bolt on the wall, made by a manufacturer, supported by a manufacturer. We're able to replace that with a completely software-based telephone system. A telephone system that runs on Microsoft Windows Server and is IP-based, so it doesn't rely on telephone wires that are completely separate from your computer network. So IP stands for Internet Protocol, and it's basically the language that your computers use to communicate with each other and out to the Internet. Well, today's telephone systems are what are referred to as IP-based, because the phones can actually plug into your computer network and operate across the computer network as opposed to having separate wires. They can also operate across the Internet. So again, for those work-at-home employees or people that are remote to your system can work as well. So in this diagram on the left, that was your traditional phone system, and if you have a legacy telephone system, this is probably what you see today in your telephone closet. There's actually 2 or 4 wires that run from every telephone back to the telephone closet. And when you need to switch offices or hire a new employee, you would need to call in your telephone vendor, and the telephone vendor would have to relocate that extension and punch it down on those punch down blocks. And it was a very time-consuming process. It required a technician to do it, and again required separate wiring to anywhere in the office. So you needed wiring for your computer network, and you needed wiring for your telephone network. The diagram on the right-hand side is what's required for today's telephone system, which is basically a Category 5 or a Cat 5 network cable that basically plugs into your existing network. So you're taking advantage of the technology that you've already invested in, and you're leveraging it, as well as being able to utilize phones across the Internet as well. So with that, I want to introduce you to the solution that we have been selling for 12 years, a solution that Behringer Associates has used in-house and has implemented for hundreds of clients. That would be the Altigen MAXES solution. And this is a 100% software-based solution, meaning that the telephone system is not a proprietary piece of hardware that bolts on the wall back in the telephone closet. It essentially is software that gets loaded on a Windows server that can either be on your premises, inside your 4 walls of your own building, connected up to your telephone service that you already have today. It can be deployed in Altigen's cloud, meaning that the only thing you need on your site are IP telephones, and Altigen and Behringer Associates deliver you a phone system across the Internet where you don't have to worry about purchasing any sort of server hardware to run the software on. You don't, and we'll go into all the benefits of the cloud, but essentially it's delivering the telephone service directly across the Internet, only requiring you to have a high-speed Internet connection and IP telephones. And then the third way that you could deploy this solution is in your own cloud. So if you have a data center of your own, maybe you've invested in that infrastructure to run your business, you can deploy our software in your own data center. So first, let's talk about the MaxCS on-premise solution. So primarily, we're not seeing this to be a trend. The trend is people moving away from on-premise telephone systems. The reason for that is when you buy an on-premise system, you're required to either purchase the software and pay an annual fee to keep that software current. You would be responsible for having to have a server to run the software on, again, which is a capital expense that you would have to go out and acquire this software along with the server to run it on. And where it really makes sense is for companies that have already invested in a high availability network, something like using VMware, where they've already created and invested in heavily the infrastructure necessary to run other applications in their business. You know, with the advent of Office 365 and all the different cloud services that are available, again, we're seeing less and less on-premise solutions and more people wanting to move as much as they can out of their own building and into the cloud. So making these things available across the internet. With that said, the next way to deploy the solution would be the MaxCS private cloud. So what the MaxCS private cloud is in Altigen's data center, we load the MaxCS all software-based telephone system. And you access that telephone system across the internet. So again, the only thing you need at your office would be a high-speed internet connection and IP telephones. This eliminates the need to upgrade or maintain a telephone system in your location. If you have multiple locations, you only need one MaxCS private cloud solution to support multiple geographic locations. Even multiple businesses with different auto attendants and so forth can be achieved with MaxCS private cloud. There's also no software assurance renewal cost and no support agreements to sign, as this is provided as a service from Behringer Associates and Altigen. You can also, if you're an existing Altigen customer and you had an on-premise solution, you can use your existing Altigen phones. So you don't even have to buy any desktop hardware if you already have Altigen phones. And you can lower your telephone cost by utilizing Altigen's SIP trunking. So what is SIP trunking? SIP trunking is essentially dial tone that's provided by the MaxCS private cloud solution. So right now you have traditional telephone lines that come into your building, either plain old telephone service, POTS lines, or maybe a PRI or a T1. And your telephone vendor or carrier is providing dial tone over that circuit. And those circuits can run anywhere from a POTS line being $30 a month for each inbound telephone line, or to a PRI line typically running $500 or $600 a month. With a MaxCS private cloud solution, you don't need POTS lines. You don't need a PRI or a T1. All you need is a broadband internet connection. Your phone will get dial tone off of the MaxCS private cloud through Altigen's SIP trunking. So this creates a huge ROI when you're able to eliminate the local phone lines and dial tone and have that delivered to you from Altigen across the internet. The other major savings with MaxCS private cloud would be the fact that it's a cost-effective monthly subscription. It's an operating expense rather than a capital expense. So you don't have to go out and buy the software. You don't have to buy the telephone system that bolts on the wall. You're simply buying the phones and the implementation services to implement a monthly subscription. And many times the cost of that monthly subscription is less than you're currently paying for telephone service. So many times it will save you money and provide all the benefits of a cloud solution. So what's different about Altigen's private cloud solution versus other carriers having what's known as shared solutions? So you may find, if you're researching telephone systems, that there are many companies that offer cloud-based telephone systems. However, most of them are doing them as a shared service, meaning that hundreds or thousands of companies are operating on one phone system, and they're carving out a piece of that architecture for your company. They're giving you so many extensions and so many phone lines. However, when it comes time for that phone system to be upgraded, or God forbid, if there's an issue with that system, it affects hundreds, if not thousands, of companies at once. Altigen's solution is different. Altigen's solution is what's referred to as a private cloud solution, meaning that there is a MaxCS system dedicated to each client of Altigen's. You have your own virtual hosted phone system in Altigen's cloud. It's not shared with anyone else. It's there specifically for your use. This means that as your business partner, we together can schedule things like maintenance windows, updates, and so forth. You would never get an email that says, hey, we're doing an upgrade of your system at this date and time. It would be agreed upon. We would say, we'd like to load an update on Monday night after hours. Will this work for you? And if it doesn't, we can reschedule it, because we're not doing it for hundreds and thousands of people at once. We're dealing specifically with your MaxCS private cloud solution. So one of the major reasons why anyone would want to go to the cloud for their phone system is for disaster recovery. The diagram on the left, while technical, basically is depicting the fact that the MaxCS private cloud solution is fully redundant. It's in a data center that has redundant power, diesel generators, redundant internet connections, and as you can see, even redundant servers. So if one server fails, your phone system keeps running. So the advantage here is that by going to the cloud, you're getting disaster recovery capabilities that you don't or can't economically provide at your own facility. Most every business only has one source of electricity. Most businesses don't have a diesel generator. Most businesses, or many businesses, don't have multiple internet connections. And most businesses have not set up a fault-tolerant network environment with multiple servers and high availability. This is what you get when you go with MaxCS private cloud, because there is a dedicated Windows server instance for your company with the Altigen phone system loaded on it. And it's in an environment that you could not economically afford yourself. The other advantage of having a cloud-based phone system is the fact that the phone system is not where your business is. The phone system is located at a data center in another geographic region of the country. So if you look at the diagram on the top, or the picture at the top where you see the massive flood, your office could be flooded. Your office could be without power. And your phone system is in the data center with redundant internet, redundant power, and it's still answering your telephone calls. And because we have extreme mobility features, your employees can work anywhere where they have an internet connection. So if your office doesn't have internet, if your office doesn't have power, your users can take their IP telephone home and connect up to the phone system. They can use just a headset and PC software to make and receive calls. They can use their cell phone to make and receive phone calls through the phone system. And we can even have calls automatically forwarded to a predetermined number. So we have multiple ways of dealing with a system-level disaster, meaning that we have, again, the fault-tolerant environment, redundant internet, redundant power, as well as user-level features. Your facility is underwater. Your facility is without power. There was a superstorm Sandy, and next thing you know, you're without power for weeks. Again, your employees can work from anywhere because your phone system is in a fault-tolerant environment in the data center. So earlier I was talking about how the legacy phone systems were very proprietary. In other words, if you bought an Avaya phone system, the only type of telephone that would work with that phone system is an Avaya telephone. And if the manufacturer discontinued that Avaya telephone, then you couldn't even buy more telephones for your telephone system. Altigen works on standards-based phones because it is SIP, which stands for Session Initiated Protocol. It's basically a communications language that the phone uses to communicate with the phone system. Because it is SIP-based, we can use standard-based telephones. So Altigen has partnered up with Polycom, who is the largest IP telephone manufacturer in the world. They make standard-based SIP telephones, and this ensures that you're future-proofing your solution. So you're not relying on one manufacturer's telephone. You're not relying on Altigen's telephone. You're relying on a standard, which is SIP. And you're relying on the largest IP telephone manufacturer in the world to provide those phones, which are very high quality. It also gives the breadth of products anywhere from a black and white fixed display phone all the way up to the VVX600, which is displayed on the left, which is a color display touchscreen phone with built-in Bluetooth capabilities. So you can actually use any Bluetooth headset that you like and pair it up with the phone. Varying price points, and you can mix and match models. So you may, have a staff phone that's just a fixed button black and white phone with a small display, and then for your executives, you might have a color touchscreen with Bluetooth phone. We also support the Polycom SoundStation series of conference room phones, which have omnidirectional microphones, meaning that there's 3 microphones pointed in every direction in the room. Extremely good quality. By the way, all these Polycom phones are also high definition voice, so the call quality is phenomenal. Some of the features of the Polycom phone are remote administration, so we can actually program that phone directly from the Altigen phone system. We can set busy lamps to tell us if other people are on or off the phone or to speed dial them. We can do line parks, which would be putting a call on system hold so it can be picked up at another phone. Call coverage, auto answer, extension relocation. This is big. So remember in one of the first diagrams I showed you, the traditional phone system had different station wires that ran to each telephone, and when an extension needed to be relocated, you'd have to have your telephone vendor come in and actually punch down the wires and relocate that extension. And maybe if somebody got married, their last name changed, all those things were requiring a technician to come in and resolve. Essentially with extension relocation, any phone can be logged in as any extension. You simply go to the phone and you type in a code to log in your extension. If your extension was logged in somewhere else, it will log out that phone and log in your new location. So the extensions are virtual. You can move into the conference room and log the conference room phone in as your office extension, and your calls will come to the conference room. If you have multiple offices, you could go to your other office and log in your extension in another area of the country. If you need to take your phone home and work from home, again, you could do that as well. So the extensions are virtual. Also, we have client call control, which is PC software to allow you to control your call, and I'll be going through that as well. Group paging, naming keys on the phone, displaying caller ID, high-definition voice, encryption, a company directory, and video support are also all possible with the Polycom VVX series of phones. So you can actually do peer-to-peer voice support with a little plug-in camera that plugs right into the top of the VVX phone. One of the advantages of the Altigen solution is that all of the licensing comes bundled. So what you get when you order a MaxCS system is the ability to run a Windows client. This is software that can go on your PC to allow you to control a call, monitor other people in the office as to whether they're available or not available, visually see your voicemail, and a lot more. And we'll talk about each of these components individually. Also comes bundled in is a IPtalk soft phone, meaning that you can use your Windows computer to function as an IP telephone extension. So using just the software and a headset, you can make and receive telephone calls. We also bundle in a mobile client, which is a mobile telephone client that runs on both iPhone and Android and allows you to make and receive telephone calls from your mobile phone just as if you were in the office. The advantage of this is all those calls are happening through the Altigen phone system, so there's trackability. The client doesn't have necessarily, if you don't want them to, your cell phone number, because they're simply calling you at your office number and the phone system is reaching you on your cell phone. And we'll go into that in more detail as well. But again, this is a great part of a disaster recovery program, because if your power is out at your office, your network is down, it doesn't matter. You can just pick up your cell phone and log in your extension. And then we have a feature called Max Call, which is used for outbound sales, calling, marketing, and collections. And we'll go into that in detail as well. So first, Max Communicator. So again, what's the trend in the telephone industry? It used to be that you simply had a phone on your desk and you made and received calls. Well, one of the problems with that is a telephone has a very limited display, especially if you go with just a staff phone that might just have like a 2-line black and white display on the phone that might show you simple things like caller ID information. Today, with today's phone systems, they can be paired up with PC software. So when a call comes into your phone, you can have this PC software pop up and allow you to see a lot more information about the call than what would appear on the telephone. Things like what maybe inbound phone number the customer dialed. Did they call your main number? Did they call your priority customer number? Did they call directly into your switchboard operator, your automated attendant? Which group did they dial? If they rang a group of phones, was it the sales team? Was it the accounting team? How long have I been on the phone with them? If I'm in a conference call, how many other people are in this conference call, and can I mute them, and so forth? Doing things like recording your call are all possible just by using a right click in the PC software. So you'll see here that you can see call information, you can set your activity, so you can set yourself as available or in a meeting or on vacation, and that would update other users to know your status. You can also see that you can dial from here. You can put callers on hold, you can transfer them, you can send them the voicemail, etc. And down the bottom, you have various tabs for actually seeing things like your visual voicemail, how many voicemails you have, who they're from. You can add notes to them. You can see a history of your inbound and outbound calls. You can see the status of other people that are on the same phone system as you. Are they on the phone, off the phone? Are they traveling? Are they on vacation, etc. So what Max Communicator does is it provides call control, meaning that you can control the call, put it on hold, transfer it, etc. Presence, meaning that other people in the office know whether you're on or off the phone, in or out of the office, on vacation, etc. Your visual voicemail, as well as being able to change personal settings in here, such as your out of office reply and things like that, out of office voicemail. This same software is also what you use if you just want to make a call using a PC headset. So this can act as a soft phone in conjunction with a USB headset. We also have a mobile client, and I touched upon this, where we have a client called Max Mobile that can be installed on an iPhone or on an Android device. With a single touch, you can basically log in your extension. It will log out your desktop phone, wherever it was logged in, and now log in your mobile phone. With this, you're able to screen calls. You're able to see the status of other people in the office. You're able to dial your favorite contacts, or for that matter, dial anyone out of the phone system. Have an integrated call log, seeing a history of calls in and out, and also visual voicemail. So again, for disaster recovery, or for people that travel and are on the road a lot, this allows that person to appear as though they're in the office, because all phone calls are actually being made out of the phone system and received through the phone system, all using your mobile phone. It's not a simple call transfer. Many phone systems you can transfer to a mobile phone. With Altigen, the call is processed through the phone system. So you can put the call on hold, you can transfer it to another person, you can record the call, you can do a conference call, you can do virtually anything you could do with a desktop telephone connected to the phone system. So I'm not sure if in your business you do outbound calling, but many businesses do. And they'll call out about special events, promos, to try and drum up new business, cold calling, etc. And the problem with that is 70% of calls go to voicemail. And you're left leaving a message after message after message saying the same thing, which is monotonous and time-consuming. Also, what happens is your message is not consistent, and the quality of that message may suffer. And also, management, your sales manager or owner of the company, unless he's sitting there listening to every message you're leaving, doesn't know exactly the message that's being sent. And if you're calling a number that's outside of your local calling area, most people don't even answer the phone because they're like assuming that it's a telemarketer. So Altigen's solution to this is a feature in the system called MaxCall. And basically what MaxCall does is whenever you get someone's voicemail, you can select a pre-recorded phrase to automatically play. So that phrase could say something like, "Hi, this is Craig Behringer from Behringer Associates. I was reaching out to you to see if you have an interest in cloud-based telephone systems. We offer a dynamic solution that can be hosted in the cloud or can operate on your premises. Please give me a call back at 800-796-4854, extension 101. Look forward to talking to you." All you have to do is click a button when you get that person's voicemail, and that same message will play every time. You can even personalize it by saying, "Hello, Mary," and then click transfer to pre-recorded phrase, and it will play the rest of the phrase. The beauty of it is you're not left hanging on the telephone, leaving this message, trying to repeat a script. You're playing a pre-recorded message, and you can move on to the next telephone call as the Altigen phone system is leaving that pre-recorded message. You'll also see at the bottom here that you can actually choose what caller ID to send out. So if you have multiple offices and you say, well, I really want to send our Chicago phone number outbound because I'm calling a prospect in Chicago, when you go to transfer the phrase, you can pick your Chicago phone number to be sent as the outbound caller ID. So as you make that telephone call, it would come from your Chicago phone number, and you have more likelihood of someone answering the phone and not even having to leave a pre-recorded message. Many of you may be paying for an external conference service, allowing parties to join an external conference bridge, maybe for even your internal company meetings. If you have a diversified staff of employees or multiple offices or people that work from at home, you may set up a regularly scheduled audio conference call that people dial into. And most companies will pay a third-party company to host that conference bridge. Well, the Altigen solution comes with a built-in Meet Me conference bridge. And through the software, you can schedule up to 30 people to join a conference call. And those people can be internal to your company or externally. And you have all the same features and functionality that you would with an external bridge. You can mute parties, you can drop people from the call, and so forth. So this is another ROI that many companies see when they move to the Altigen MAXES solution. The base system comes with the ability to do 30 people, but that can be expanded with additional licensing and cost if need be. So, call center. Many businesses may have more telephone calls than they actually have people to answer the phones. And the easiest way to think about this is when you call Comcast or the electric company and you're calling a call center where they have agents standing by to take your call, but it never seems like they have enough agents, and you're having to sit in a queue and wait to go to the next available agent or the person that has the most expertise in what you're calling about. And that would be what would be referred to as a call center application. We find that many businesses don't have a need for this, so I'm going to go through this so you're aware of the features and capabilities that are available. They are optional. The base package does not come with them, but if you have a need for call center applications, Altigen has very robust call center applications. So why are some of the reasons why people would use a call center application? One is for automated call distribution. That would be a call comes in. How do I want to distribute it to the team of agents I have? Do I want to send it to everyone at once and make it a jump ball? Whoever grabs the phone first gets the call. Do I want to have an order? I always send it to Mary first, and if she's tied up, then I send it to Dave, and if Dave's tied up, I send it to John. Do I want to do a round robin where, you know, whoever's next in line gets the call? Do I want to do skills-based routing where whoever has the most skills in what the customer is looking to have worked on would get the call? They're all known as ACD, or automated call distribution, where you can, with Altigen's call center, distribute calls up to 8 different ways. Also, if you have the ability, or the need, I should say, to listen in, barge in, or coach an agent, meaning that, hey, I just want to listen in for quality control purposes and see if this agent is saying the right things. Or maybe I want to barge in because I want to be part of the conversation and add my input. Or whisper or coach, where maybe I'm just telling the agent in their ear what they should say or do, and the caller does not hear that. While the base system does come with the ability to do on-demand call recording, the call center application has an optional package to do what's known as all-call recording. So if you're a bank or a financial institution, or you have certain regulations that require you to record every telephone conversation, we do have optional all-call recording available. There are also agent and supervisor desktop clients, very similar to what you saw with Max Communicator, and I'll show you those. Real-time performance management to see how many calls are in queue, how many agents are logged in. Call center reporting to give you historical reports, dashboarding applications, and campaign dialing, as well as a software developer kit if you need to integrate with other business applications. So again, I'm not going to bore you with the different routing and queuing options, but just be aware that, again, there's 8 different routing options. We can integrate with databases to decide how calls get handled, and you can do things like announcing someone's expected wait time and their position in queue. So there's a lot of features when you get into call center, and if anyone has an interest in the call center features, I'd be more than happy to demonstrate them and understand what your exact needs are. With the call center application, you have a program that's very similar to Max Communicator. Looks exactly the same with some additional options to allow an agent to set themselves to ready or not ready, to be able to log in and out of workgroup queues, to see who's waiting in queue, and what the performance workgroup statistics have been, and so forth. Likewise, the supervisor has a module in which they can see the status of agents, workgroup queues, and group statistics. This supervisor module also allows the supervisor to listen in, barge in, or coach the agents on the call that they happen to be on. So again, if anyone has the need for more advanced call center functionality, I'd be happy to go into this in more detail. Also, with the call center functionality, we support callback from queue. You may have experienced this again when you call a company and they have a long wait time. You know, our wait time is longer than expected. The system can give you an option to have a callback, and the system will schedule a callback, and once that person does not lose their spot in queue, but they don't have to wait in line. So if they have a 20-minute wait time, the phone system will call them back and connect them to an agent in 20 minutes. Also with the call center package, there are 40 different detailed reports. These reports include things about agent statistics, work group statistics, and inbound telephone calls. The base system also comes with a program called Call Detail Reporting, which allows you to query the database and get elements about every inbound and outbound telephone call that's happened. It's all stored in an internal database, so it's available for you to take a look at any time. And also with the call center, there is a dashboarding application called MaxInsight. And with MaxInsight, it graphically would display in your call center or at your supervisor's desk graphically what's happening in the call center. In the example here, it's showing us work group 2222 has 0 calls in queue. It has the longest queue time is 0. And if you look at the right, it will show us things like the number of calls in queue graphically, and up top it'll show us the number of agents that are logged in, logged out, on do not disturb, busy, etc. Typically, this is set up on an LCD display in the call center. It's for people to graphically see what's going on. It's definitely eye candy if you have customers or vendors in and you want to show them how you manage your call center. So in summary, and before we go to the question and answer session, what I would say is that the MaxCS system is proven technology. So Altigen's been around since 1994. They're not a new company. They actually were one of the inventors of the IP-based telephone system. It offers advanced contact center functionality. It is 100% software-based, meaning that an Altigen phone system does not contain or require proprietary hardware. It can run on a physical server in your office, a virtual server in your office, or in Altigen's data center in the cloud. It uses standard space Polycom telephones, or if you're an existing Altigen customer and want to go to the cloud, you can use your existing Altigen telephones. It provides system and user level disaster recovery capabilities. It offers SIP trunking in both in the cloud or in your location, allowing you to eliminate your local telephone lines. And it's available in 3 different purchase options. You can buy it outright and pay annual software assurance and maintenance contracts. You can pay for it monthly as a cloud service, only needing an internet connection and telephones, or you may go with the software as a service model where you're basically paying for the software monthly but hosting it in your own data center or in your own location.
And Craig, there were a couple questions that were posted, but this slide seems to have covered all of those. The first question was, can you use non-Altigen brand phones with the system? And I think that what you're showing here is that you can use standards-based phones.
We support Polycom standard-based phones or Altigen phones. So other phones would not be compatible. The ones that are tested and certified by Altigen would be the Polycom VVX series, the Polycom SoundStation series of conference room phones, as well as the Altigen phones, the 705, 805, 710, and 720 models, which are date back sometime. So.
Yep. And then a related question is, does the system support what they're saying is a standard telephone line? I think what they mean there is a POTS line for, things like paging and alarm systems and so forth.
The Altigen system on-premise or in the cloud could support that. generally what we recommend is that anything that is analog be connected directly to a POTS line. So if you have like a fax machine, a postage machine, an alarm system, that you maintain a POTS line with Verizon or AT&T, and that be directly connected to that and off the phone system. And the reason why we recommend that is because this is an all IP-based telephone system, and because it is software-based and plugs into your computer network, there is nowhere to plug in an analog device without acquiring what would be known as a gateway appliance, which adds complexity and cost to the implementation. So our recommendation is that you maintain plain old telephone service for anything that may be analog. The other thing we're finding is most of those analog devices are starting to go across the internet. Most postage machines today go across the internet. Most alarm systems today utilize the internet or cellular. A lot of people are switching from on-premise fax machines to e-fax, eliminating the need even for those POTS lines.
Great. Well, that was all the questions, and fantastic.
Muted. Unmuted. Muted. Unmuted.
Looked like we had some muting happening here automatically. Craig, are you still with us?
Muted. Unmuted.
Well, sorry about that, everyone. It looks like we're having some technical difficulties here with muting. So with that, Craig, if you would like to advance your slide to your contact info, I'll go ahead and start to wrap up. I want to thank everybody for joining. I hope you got as much out of the session as I did. Great presentation this morning, and lots of just great information. If you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to discuss maybe your individual needs or requirements further, your individual scenario. We have recorded the session. We'll be posting the session up on our YouTube channel, so if you'd like to rewatch it, or if you'd like to share with any of your colleagues, it will be up on our YouTube channel, I would say by probably about this time tomorrow. So I want to thank everybody for joining. With that, we'll conclude today. Thank you, Craig, for the great information, and everyone have a great afternoon.